If you often find yourself frustrated, quick to point out flaws in others, or constantly striving to prove your worth, or if you retreat inward, consumed by anxiety and self-doubt, these behaviors may point to something deeper. When you pull away from social connections or push yourself to exhaustion for external validation, you may be listening to an inner voice that whispers, "You're not enough." This voice can silently steer the course of your life. Yet, if understood, it can also become the spark that helps you uncover who you truly are. Today's reflection centers on Alfred Adler's What Life Could Mean to You, a book that explains why feelings of inferiority aren't signs of weakness, but the beginning of something far greater. By diving into Adler's insights, you'll see how your insecurities are tied to your purpose and how embracing them can lead to a meaningful life. Let's begin. There was a child who was short, sickly, and had a hunched back due to rickets. He ranked last in his class and lived in the shadow of his brilliant, athletic brother. These comparisons fueled his deep sense of inferiority. Yet, rather than succumbing to despair, he transformed his insecurities into a purpose, became a doctor of psychology, and one of the pioneers of modern psychology. That person was Alfred Adler. Adler's childhood faced many hardships, near-death illnesses, his brother's death, and even 2 car accidents. According to psychoanalytic theory, such trauma should have destined him for a troubled life. But Adler believed otherwise. His struggles fueled his desire to become a doctor and help children who felt powerless. Adler, once a disciple of Freud, eventually parted ways with him, disagreeing with the idea that childhood trauma defined a person's destiny. Instead, Adler founded individual psychology, which focuses on how we interpret our past rather than the events themselves. For example, instead of assuming you dislike someone because of their flaws, Adler proposed that you may unconsciously search for flaws as a way to justify distancing yourself, perhaps to protect yourself from vulnerability. Where Freud saw people as victims of their past, Adler saw them as creators of their future. He argued that life's meaning doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from reframing it. Adler believed feelings of inferiority are a natural part of being human. Whether it's insecurity about appearance, status, or upbringing, everyone faces moments of self-doubt. Take a friend of mine, for instance. He wore shoe lifts daily to appear taller and would suddenly stand on his toes in group photos. Was he wrong to feel that way? Absolutely not. But his actions reflected a deeper struggle with self-worth. Adler's message is that our insecurities aren't flaws to be hidden. They're part of our human experience. In fact, many of humanity's greatest achievements were born from the desire to overcome perceived inadequacies. However, without the right mindset, feelings of inferiority can take a destructive turn. Consider someone who grows up in poverty and becomes obsessed with accumulating wealth, believing it will validate their worth. Yet, after achieving financial success, they still feel empty. Adler shared the real case of Marguerite, a woman who sought validation by pursuing married men. Abandoned as a child and physically deformed, she believed that winning someone else's husband would prove her value, but this path only deepened her pain. Adler called this distortion the inferiority complex. People with this complex often blame external factors, parents, society, or circumstances, for their struggles, masking their insecurities. On the flip side, excessive confidence can also stem from an inferiority complex, manifesting as arrogance. We've all met people who boast endlessly about their achievements, but behind the bravado often lies a fragile ego, desperate to avoid appearing weak. When overcompensation turns into superiority, the inferiority complex evolves into a superiority complex. Both can coexist, feeding off each other and creating a cycle that's hard to break. Adler's advice is clear: beware of both extremes, crippling insecurity and overconfidence. These complexes can lead to emotional turmoil, strained relationships, and a loss of life's meaning. So, how do we overcome them? The first step is awareness. Observe yourself. When you feel inadequate, ask, am I retreating in defeat or masking my pain with false confidence? Second, understanding the origin of insecurity, childhood wounds. Adler identified 2 types of inferiority complexes. Primary inferiority complex, stemming from childhood experiences of helplessness or unfavorable comparisons. Secondary inferiority complex, emerging in adulthood when personal goals remain unfulfilled, reinforcing old insecurities. Adler also identified 3 types of vulnerable children. Children with physical limitations, they may isolate themselves, feeling disconnected from the world. Overindulged children, used to being the center of attention, they struggle with collaboration. Neglected children, deprived of love and support, they view the world as hostile and believe survival requires conflict. The common thread among these groups is a lack of cooperation. Adler believed that the root of all human problems is this inability to collaborate. Some people compensate for inferiority by seeking superiority at any cost, becoming selfish, isolated, or even destructive. For example, a child raised in poverty may grow up obsessed with wealth, not for its meaning, but to erase the shame of being less than. However, with the right mindset, feelings of inferiority can inspire true excellence. Adler argued that meaningful lives are built through cooperation and contribution. Many believe people can't change their nature, but Adler disagreed. He believed change isn't impossible, it's just uncomfortable. Most people resist it because it forces them to face uncertainty and hardship. True belonging and purpose, Adler taught, come from shifting our focus from self-centered ambition to community contribution. No matter your background, the key question to living a fulfilling life is, how can I connect with and contribute to the world? Without a sense of purpose, no amount of money, luxury, or recognition will fill the emptiness within. Adler identified 3 challenges every human must face: work, society, love, and marriage. Even those who choose to remain single must engage in cooperation. Many avoid commitment out of fear of losing independence, often a sign of an underlying inferiority complex. To uncover hidden insecurities, Adler suggested reflecting on early memories. The moments reveal the beliefs that shape our current lives. Adler believed that our core personality or lifestyle is shaped by age 5. Childhood experiences influence our choices well into adulthood. For me, a formative memory was from when I was 5. I got lost after my mom was late picking me up from preschool. Feeling abandoned, I wandered off and ended up crying in a crowd. Years later, I realized I still blamed my mom for that moment. After reading Adler's work, I understood why I felt unworthy of attention and craved validation. These memories act as mirrors, reflecting whether our mindset is healthy or struggling. Living authentically, Adler's teachings remind us that true success comes from empathy, compassion, and selflessness. By freeing ourselves from the chains of ego and dedicating ourselves to others, we can finally live authentically. As Einstein once said, the value of a person should be measured by what they give, not by what they gain. May we all rise above our insecurities, discover our true worth, and live extraordinary lives filled with kindness and purpose. Thank you for listening. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. See you next time.